My absolutely beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome to your weekly horoscope for the week of March 4th, moving all the way into the 10th. I'm really thrilled to be here with you, and I'm with you live this week, which is really kind of cool. Now, I'm going to tell you in the beginning, if you're watching this live with me, thrilled to have you here, thrilled to interact with you in the chat. I will still go back at the end of this and make sure that there are timestamps for every day of the week and anything else there needs to be a timestamp for at the end of this. So don't worry about having to watch, the full stream if that's not what you're looking for. I will make sure that I take care of you, okay? If we haven't met before, I'm practicing professional astrologer Stormie Grace, and I am an evolutionary and a humanistic astrologer, which basically means I look at the soul story and say, okay, this is what you've got. This is what you're working with through the evolutionary lens. And then through the humanistic lens, I say, okay, but as a human being, what are you going to do with that? So I make astrology along those lines and in that content lens. So if that's something that you are interested in, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely join me. Looking forward to spending a lot of time with you in this conversation today, because this week I think is really impactful. I think that this week has got some energy, especially with Mercury taking its move to the vibration of Aries this week. I think that we've got a lot to be able to work with, okay? So, something to kind of keep in mind as well as we are traveling with this vibration this week is that I want to bring your attention and I want to engage the conversation a little bit, first and foremost, about Pluto in Aquarius and what this is not so much about, but what it can also feel like to us. So, when we're looking at a planet coming into a new sign, something to consider is that that planet comes in and it says, listen, this is the vibration that I want. This is the frequency that I'm setting the tone for, because this is the natural rhythm. This is what it needs to be, right? So anything, when that planet comes in that is not of that vibration, it gets hit pretty hard, or it feels like there's a lot going on, or like the energy is trying to get compressed. So if you think of it, it comes in and the vibration is like this, but what we've got going on as a collective, or what we've got going on as individuals, is the energy is like this. Then to get it in alignment with this vibration, that energy has to get knocked out, or things have to go, right? It has to be changed in order to get in alignment. I share that because what this vibration can really feel like is you can feel like there's a lot of pressure. You can feel like the energy is heavy, right? It can just feel like this is really a heavy energy. And I know that for many people, as we've spoken about it, it's been this sense and it's been this vibration of like even feeling the void of course moon times a lot more strongly. Like when the energy gets down or it gets flat, you can feel the intensity of it. So I want to address that in the feeling space and in the somatic experience of it as well. But I'd like to say, this is how we can work with it. Whatever is not in this vibration is giving us the indicator of the pain point of where exactly we need to go to adjust to get in alignment with this vibration, or to start to move it into alignment with this vibration, right? So one of the things that you can think of is like, what is being brought to your attention now that Pluto is in Aquarius? What is the biggest pain point you are finding yourself dealing with? And it may be more than one. That's the place, whether you like it, whether it's sexy, whether it's like a cool pain point, as if there's such a thing. That's the thing to go to. And what do you do with that? We use the helper, Jupiter in Taurus, right? Which is going to bring teachers that can add value and teach you how to walk to the other side of your pain point, because we have to be taught in order to come to the other side of the pain point. Trying to just solve it by ourselves in this climate is not going to work or be effective. So just for an example, right? Because and all things don't mean all things. What I mean by that is, if you're finding that you have a particularly pronounced pain point in your marriage, okay? Marriage is the pain point. the up and the down of this vibration is going to be black and white. It's going to be we stay together or we get divorced. Where Pluto may be bringing your attention is to say the pain point is the marriage. Go to the people who have long-term, happy, successful marriages and ask them how they've done that, because likely they've been in your pain point. Or go directly to the people who've been like, we were on the verge of divorce, right? It's painful. It's painful. It's embarrassing. Doesn't feel empowered. It feels like shit at first. And you learn, you are taught, and this is how we learn to find what is right of the vibration, because maybe the marriage doesn't need to die. Maybe the behavior patterns in the marriage need to die off so that something else can be reborn. If this is the case that it's in any kind of relationship, or maybe it's in your finances, or, I've been talking a lot about hormones, or maybe it's in how you communicate, things like these. My helper here is to go to the pain point, because the pressure is being put on you, right? You're likely feeling it in some way, even somatically through the body, feeling that energy. So look for your helpers with this particular vibration. And the other thing is to keep in mind, you are absolutely not alone. None of us that are mortal have been through this Pluto and Aquarius vibration in its fullness. So what else it can be like is that you're collectively changing and have this uncertainty with people that are around you as well. And the ideas, air sign coming in, this idea. And some of the ideas are very exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, I could do this. I could take this on. I could build this, but then they're also bombarded by these other thoughts, which are uncertain and heavy, right? So in some way too, to acknowledge we're all walking home together in an unknown vibration. But what each of us can do is to Aquarius, own my individual thing, take it to the collective that can help me see how to grow out of it, into it, come to my rebirth, my transformation with it, and then have that to offer back, right? This is a way to deal with that. So I wanted to address that early on, because we've got some other influences this week that I think make it easier to take action and to feel like we're in a little bit more authority of dealing with our pain points and our own transformations. And pain point doesn't also mean that it's terrible and you're not experiencing something good, because sometimes stepping into your own empowerment, stepping into your success, rising to that VIP or expert level comes with its own pain point. Do you really understand money? Or, are you running your business or the business of your home like there's no structure needed, right? Or do you really believe that you're allowed to be an authority in what you're taking on? So the pain point can look outwardly like success or challenge just as much, but whatever the pain point is that keeps coming up for you, I encourage you to take yourself to the people who have previously had your pain point. And this week, I think that you'll be able to do that with a little bit more ease. Now, we're going to have not only the new moon happening this week in Pisces, which I just love this week, because I think it reminds us that, from a physical, energetic level, it is time to surrender something, to welcome something else in. And in order to welcome that something else in, we have to develop and lean into some new level of faith, whatever you call that, belief and action, right? Whatever you call that, we have to believe that there's something outside of what we can just tangibly touch, but that if I take this chance, if I follow the universe, however you state that I will be okay and I can have this next experience. So this new moon, I think, brings that in. There's also a nice connection with Uranus that makes it a little bit more exciting to do so. But I really think that a big ticket item this week is that Mercury is going to move into the energy of Aries. And this is such a big deal for us, because as it heralds into this Aries energy, it's like waving the flag of the season to come, right? Mercury is the flag bearer saying new leadership is on its way in here. Decisions will be made directly. Cuts will be made as needed. And there is a bit more, even if it's not certain, there is a bit more direction to it. And in it, I think that it's like, it lights a little bit of a fire in each of us, because it's like what I think and what I decide is of my leadership, is of my governance. And that's going to be an energy that I think we can all feel really good about working with, because as things have been coming in, I don't know about you guys, is it's like, yeah, okay, I think I'm going in this direction, or you start doing something a little bit and then it's like, I'm in the uncertain weeds again. You know what I mean? I have certainly had that experience where you have to do something a little bit and then put it down. Absolutely. But here with Mercury of the mind in Aries, it's like, boom, I'm doing this. Come hell or high water, this is the direction I'm going. Okay. So lots to be working with, but let's jump into this, of course, by the week, by the day, so that we can see exactly what's going on. I will say this before I jump in. If you are really having a particular struggle, or you're like, hold on, I'm listening to you, Stormie, I'm listening to other astrologers, and this is kind of the energies here, but like I don't have it in me, or I feel like I'm moving much faster, really check out your natal and your progressed lunar phases to see who you are natal, how do you naturally handle these energies, and where you are progressed lunar phase to see what season you're in, because we can have all of these good transits, but if you are in the winter season of your life and you're trying to move fast, or you're trying to herald change like a summer season, you're likely going to find yourself getting hurt or sick. So work smarter, not harder. Work in the season that you're in. And of course, if you haven't checked that out, go check out a free resource. You can go to my website, stormiegrace.com, check out the lunar phases, and you can also take my full class in a self-paced form. I'll make sure it's in the description box down below, or you can head over to the website, okay? So use your astrology to help you see how to set your board for the best success. All right. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's get into the week. So as we're coming in on Monday, first of all, we are coming in off of Venus having squared Uranus and a last quarter moon that was happening on Sunday. So there was a lot of breaking out and bringing some things to a close, which I think is very nice, because as we're coming into Monday, we're coming in with the moon traveling in Sagittarius. It's still very optimistic, willing to explore a new truth, right? But by the time most of us, if you're not late night shift, are getting going in the day, we're going to walk into a void of course moon energy straight off on Monday. So the energy is not, it's not action packed as we're coming in on Monday. Instead, it's like, have some of that enthusiasm of the new truths of having brought something to a close, and spend your void of course moon time, first of all, finishing up projects that need to be finished, not starting anything new. But it's a great time to like look back and reflect on, what have you brought to a close? What have you worked on enough for now that it's okay to put it down, right? So enjoy and try and use that void of course moon. And if it feels like the energy is pressing into you, definitely look at your pain point, because these void of course moon periods right now are making obvious some pain points. Okay. Now, during that void of course time, before the moon actually gets into Capricorn, we are also going to see that Mercury comes into a sextile with Uranus. And I love it because Tiffany, one of our friends from Wise Skies Collective, she talks about this as the plot twist. And I just think, yeah, on Monday, there might be a little bit of a plot twist where you're like, okay, yep, I've had some things presented to me. I've had some information that came into me at the end of February, and I'm just willing to try something different. I'm willing to think about something in a different way. Now, Mercury Uranus coming together, they're in this sextile, which means they create the pocket of opportunity, but you're intelligently taking action on it. So you're seeking, you're going to it, and you're in motion. So the energy, first of all, I want you to know, it could be busy, right? It could be a little, there's a lot going on. There's some like twists and turns, plot twist going on here, but it is fantastic for exploring ideas that are outside of your normal realm of thinking, or asking somebody that you previously, maybe even a week, 2 weeks ago, would not have asked for information. And what it's doing is stimulating your mind to get a different perspective of what it is that you are looking at. Now, to go along with this energy, I want to bring our attention to the fact that Neptune, right here on Monday, is entering into its pre-retrograde shadow time as well. And this is going to be at 27 degrees of Pisces. Okay. So make sure for sure that I mean, it moves nice and slow, so you have plenty of time to track where Neptune is at. But grab 27 degrees of Pisces in your own chart and see what is or has been going on here, because it's a spiritualizing planet. Now, just like Pluto's entrance into Aquarius said, this is my vibration and you're going to need to die off in some way so something else can live here. Neptune is a planet that you're not going to wrangle. We're not going to wrangle it. We're not going to tell Neptune what it is, how it's going to be, and these kinds of things. With Neptune, you like have to be in the lazy river and you have to flow with it. And if you can kind of get into this vibration, and I mean it, move yourself, feel this in your body, bring the astrology into you, right? It's like, okay, be on the lazy river. Let the plot twists and turns kind of happen today and let me go with it. What is it showing me? Start to pay attention here. What are messages that are coming up? What are these synchronicities or coincidences that are presenting themselves? Because it's below the level of consciousness here. This is in the heart of things, working through the spirit. So pay attention to that as Neptune is beginning to work here. Now we'll pay more attention to the actual retrograde cycle when we get down into July and through December and these kinds of things. Okay, so I just want you to be mindful of that. But just after that, we see the moon bump itself into the vibration of Capricorn. So now we're feeling a bit more focused on long-term plans and planning and designing, but from an emotional level. So it's really kind of a nice assurance in the second half of Monday that it's like, okay, I feel a bit more steady, a bit more focused on what I need to do to create a discipline or to improve something or put things in place so that I can improve something. I think that the second half of Monday, when we get that moon into Capricorn, if you needed to present an idea, you needed to ask for a raise, you needed to, whatever you need to do that is like your boss level energy. And when I say boss, don't hear like, I'm going to say it, please don't be offended, but that like boss bitch energy. It's not that. Capricorn is a feminine energy, but it's like I'm working in my feminine wisdom, right? It's that energy where it's like, no, I understand the value that I bring. I understand this, and this is why I'm asking for it and holding firm to it so that I can bring this structure, discipline, next level of expertise into my life. Okay. So it's a wonderful energy to roll with that. Now, later in the day, but early in the evening, we're going to see that Mars, our action planet, comes into a sextile with the North Node. So we have some ease of action, the opportunities here, and I'm intelligently taking action on it. And that means it's going to trine to that South Node. Okay, so small pause for just a second here to keep in mind that Mars and Venus have recently come into a new 2-year conversation with each other, a new 2-year cycle. It's in it. They came together in Aquarius, so it's moving along. But this cycle is about how we relate to ourselves, re-relating to ourselves. And in Aquarius, it was very much so about breaking down or innovating patterns, ideas, behaviors in how we've related to ourselves. And oftentimes what will happen is someone else is teaching us, or a group or some idea is coming in, and it's allowing us to re-relate to even old stories that we've had about ourselves, about relationship, things like this. So it's like there's some speed to this personal innovation that's going on. So now, as we see Mars, my action and desire planet, in this beautiful sextile to the North Node in Aries that is ruled by Mars, pulling us forward, it's like, okay, it's okay. And it is of my destiny to let that door close and be prepared to walk into another one. The other thing I love about the North Node is that the North Node often just shows up as a destiny person or a destiny group. And I really think this time it's a destiny person. Like they show up and they say something to you, even if the something they say to you hurts your feelings. Right? Because sometimes they show up and they're like, yeah, listen, I don't know about that lie you've been telling yourself, but this is what it is. And it's very Aries, right? It's very Aries. It can be direct, it can be cutting, it can be like boom, right? Or you're trying to wield a behavior and someone steps in and they're your intervention. They're like, that's not going to work, right? Just as much as it can be something easy and lovely where somebody is like, yeah, why don't you try it this way? Or, these are things that I like. I've had a couple of these North Node touchdowns where like a client or a person, I've been thinking about something or wondering how to do Mars something, and a person just shows up and says, this is what I'm looking for. Like they literally tell me what they're looking for, and it helps me correct and just deliver that one thing. So look for that as you're experiencing this. Now, to the other side, letting the other door close is that trine, I think, with that South Node in Libra, where it's like, okay, I don't need this anymore. This relation or how I've been relating to this thing, how I've been doing this doesn't have balance anymore. It's not actually going to help me move forward. What this has to provide me, or the relationship I've had with this concept, even because remember, Libra is an air sign. So some of this is how I've thought about things, old ideas, right? Even how I've thought about this doesn't hold a high vibration of energy to move me forward towards what I desire, Mars, anymore. I'm not getting any power. I'm not getting any drive. Instead, when I interact with some of this Libra concept, I feel fearful. I feel confused. I feel restless, as opposed to when I kind of go more towards the Aries, which sometimes the most Aries thing in the world to do is to go ask for help or to be asked to be shown something, right? To say, teach me how to have this fight, right? But whatever it is, when I move towards the Ariesness, I don't feel so confused and so afraid. So that's something I just want to put out there for you to consider as we're traveling with that Mars connection to these nodes here on Monday, okay? Now, as we get to the 5th, we're still going to be under this experience of this Capricorn moon, okay? And we don't have a whole ton. There's going to be moon interaction going on. I think we'll still be having this, it's more unconscious creeping in of that Neptune coming into its pre-retrograde shadow time vibration, okay? But when we pop ourselves over and just get to the 6th, we're coming in again to a void of course moon period before the moon goes ahead and gets into the energy of Aquarius. But as the moon comes to void of course this time, you can use this moving into Aquarius void of course to make those phone calls, to be a little bit social, but it's going to be being social about the phone calls that need to be made, right? Like, yes, call the cable company, like, yes, do the thing, like make that phone call. Because listen, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to call the people at the storage unit and just tell them that we're not going to be back in the country. Right? It's something so simple that like has no real weight, and I'm just procrastinating doing it. Or it's like, oh, I really need to just send a text message and check on that person. This void of course moon, pre-moon in Aquarius, is a great time to make those phone calls, have those social things done that just need to get wrapped up, okay? And then as we see the moon come around and get into that vibration of Aquarius, then now this is much more social. It's an excellent time to connect, to network, whether it's with friends or acquaintances, or maybe you're going to a group thing. With the moon in Aquarius, I heard this and I can't remember where I heard it. I breathe in a lot of astrological content during the week, so I can't remember where I heard it, but somebody said when the moon is traveling in Aquarius, it's a great time to ask for a favor. If you need a favor, it's a great time to ask for that to be done, and or vice versa. Somebody could be asking you to do a favor for them as well. Now, the thing I think to pay attention to is that we've just had Mars in connection with these nodes. So be clear, if somebody is like, hey, let me borrow $5. And you're like, listen, the last time I borrowed you $5, we're up to like, $100 tab. Like, maybe no, I can't borrow you $5. Okay. So it's like you kind of have to consider about the favor. But the other thing is that I think towards that north node side, which sits in a really nice elemental conversation, more of a sextile element with the north node, is like if you need help moving the sofa, if you have an appointment you need to get to, and you're afraid, you're nervous to go by yourself, if you have this idea of something you want to build and you've just been thinking Aquarius about it and you're not getting anywhere, ask someone to be a sounding board for you. Ask someone for that ride and allow people to be of service to you as well. And sometimes that's a harder concept, I think, for us, is to like let people do us favors, right? I know for me, I lean more, I've got Venus and Aries. I more so want to do you the favor. And I don't expect you to have to pay me back. I just would, to me, it feels like more of a position of power, right? Like I'm in control of that. And it can be harder to let someone do a favor for me. But if you are on the other side of it, where you're like, no, I don't do things for people, maybe try it. Wherever your balance is, it's a good energy to give that a try. So let me know if you ask somebody to do a favor for you. Let me know that in the comment section this week. I would love to hear your experience with that. Okay. All right. Now we are also going to see here on Wednesday, we're still on the 6th, that we're going to see Mars come into that sextile with Chiron. Okay. So we had this click in with the nodes, and now just a little more tight exact shift, we get into the conversation with Chiron. So Mars Chiron connection here. Chiron traveling through Aries. Aries still ruled by Mars. So this is a really nice simpatico kind of energy. They do understand each other for the most part, right? But it's like here, since Chiron is not looking so much through that old wound of the identity, first of all, it may help you ask someone for a favor where you're like, yeah, this whole I got everything by myself is old news. That's old behavior. That's not working for me anymore. But also something I was thinking of is it's like, in your own healing cycle, this sextile, you may be going, you know what? I want to bring content into my life that speaks to the direction I want to go. It speaks to my healing. It speaks to me having more ease and pleasure in my life. It cuts through the BS. I'm not listening to the BS this week. It helps you to cut down some distractions. Ooh, maybe they're destructions too, but we have to celebrate the fact that like that Chiron is also here being like, no, my wound is a little bit healed. I don't need to be so distracted from it. I want to take action, moving in this particular direction, which I think can be an absolutely beautiful thing. And when Mars gets into Pisces later in the month on the 22nd, I think that we'll be able to accept more of the ease that our actions at this point of the month we're making to bring that ease in, and then we can accept more of it later in the month. So give it a go, see how this works out for you. Okay. Then of course we see the moon obviously later in the day get into that Aquarian vibration, and we're going to travel with that all throughout Thursday. We've got the moon in in Aquarius all through Thursday. Okay. Now let's get into Friday, the 8th. So first of all, we have got Mercury coming into this conversation over here with Neptune. Now it's all Piscean. Okay, it's all in the waters. So this conjunction with Neptune over here. Remember, Mercury wants details and facts, and it wants it like quickly, like give it to me now. However, using the intellect like that when Mercury's in Pisces is not the thing. So instead, where you're sharper and we have more access to clarity is going to be in our emotional and our intuitive intelligence. So if you can like remember that as we're here on the 8th and go, let me shift for a minute. I don't need to intellect this thing to death. I need to sense and feel through it. It's a little bit more of an enchanting fantasy can feel fantasy kind of energy, but I think that if you are noticing, when people are giving you information, how does that feel in your body? What is your intuition telling you? When you're with a certain person, how do they smell? Your nose, our senses are actually built to give us a lot of information. Think about dogs. They're smelling, 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 or animals, okay? They're smelling, smelling, smelling to gather information. Well, when Mercury's in Pisces, this is also very useful for us as well. Now, synchronicities. Neptune has stepped into its pre-retrograde shadow time. So what are the synchronicities that are coming up? What's happening? What is your intellect through the intuition paired with this beginning to slow down vibration of Neptune? What is it showing you? Because it is no accident that you were at home by yourself, calling in something, saying, universe, please help me, saying, I really wish I had this. I really wish I could understand this. It's no accident that the synchronicity of something or someone popping into your inbox, into your space, meeting you at the bananas, like it's no accident that what you're wanting or what you're calling or what you are begging from your soul for help with is showing up. It's no accident. So don't think yourself out of the lifeboat that is coming to get you. And don't think yourself out of being the lifeboat that you're maybe going to get someone else, right? Instead, be like, hell, I don't know. Maybe it's just what, you know what I mean? Now, obviously, we're still in the vibration of Neptune, so some things can be deceptive, right? If you say, I'm looking to change my finances, and somebody's like, well, I can turn you into, an African princess for the low price of $2,000 to this interesting bank account. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. Like some things we still have to watch, but other synchronicities are right on time. Or if you're like, I've really been wanting to travel, and you meet somebody nice at the grocery store and they're like, oh, do you want to go to lunch sometimes and you can ride in the trunk of my car? Like, don't do that. Okay. Sometimes the deception is just that outright, but other times it can be like, I've been looking for a sign so much that I don't actually slow and let the whole moment play out. So let's use a little caution here as well. Now, other things though with this energy, great for getting into your intuition, great for getting into that creativity. Turn on that dance music, paint that picture, let yourself go a little bit. We are humans. We can only handle so much reality and work and experience and wisdom gaining all the time. Sometimes you have just got to shake it out. And I think that that is an absolutely beautiful thing. So make sure that you take advantage of this as well. Enjoy your creativity. We're actually made to be progressive, creative beings. So tap into it. I'll say one more thing about this. It's just a question, I think, for you to consider. But, here on Friday, like it's a Venus day. Friday is ruled by Venus. So what does inspire you? What gets you to your core that you just think, this is so inspiring and this is beautiful to me? What is that, and where can you go with that in yourself? Because those sips and those moments of just experiencing the depth of beauty and idealism can also be very inspiring and motivating, as well. Okay, so find beauty everywhere is all. It's all I'm clearly getting at here. Now we're going to see later that the moon steps again into this void of course position. Allow it, just be with it. Let the energy just be quiet, be easy, finish up some things. And then it's going to move into the moon's going to move into the vibration of Pisces. Now, as the moon moves into this vibration of Pisces, first of all, the things, the emotions particularly that need to culminate, that are allowed to be transitioned to something else, right? That is a fantastic, it's just such a phenomenal time for that vibration, places where we're generous, we're spending a bit more time having empathy, thinking, can I forgive? Can I give forgiveness that maybe I've been denying, whether it's to myself, to other people? Can I just sit on the couch watching, The Good Doctor and pet the cat or the dog? Like whatever. Are you spending time in the hot tub? What are you doing while the moon is in Pisces to also have these little dips from reality that I'm telling you about that are not going to be damaging, right? It's not, I'm hopped up on drugs to escape reality. I'm simply stepping into another place of escape that I'm allowed to be, and it's healthy. It's not harmful. Okay, I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Hopefully, I'm describing that in a good way. Now, in terms of, maybe it's a day while the moon's in Pisces where you're experiencing having more things that have a little bit of like uplift to it. It's like, have a little lemon water, have a little lemon spritzer, whatever you like. Do a little bit of that is what I'm calling in for Friday. Okay, let's get to the ninth. So as we get to the ninth, I love it. We're under that Piscean vibration. And so we start to have a lot of this real Piscean resonance, especially as the moon is getting ready to kick up. Now, way before we get to this, Mercury moving into Aries business, we've got Mars in a square to Uranus. Now, we saw last Sunday that Venus and Mars are in this new cycle of with each other, of us relating to ourselves, how we relate to ourselves. Venus squared Uranus. Now we have Mars in a square to Uranus. Now, first of all, Mars and Uranus are planets that are both ready to be about it. They are happy to be about it, and what is it? Whatever it is, okay? So there is this energy that can be quite explosive and impulsive. So you do want to be a little bit mindful of what that is, but that's really not how impulse works, right? Like, unless you are listening to your astrology and you can kind of see it coming, that that energy is going to be there. And there is a fair amount of volatility to these two because they are willing to just be about it. And as Mars, which can be about action, desire, all of these things, but Mars can be about conflict. It can be, I'm angry about something, right? As it clashes into Uranus, these two, the energy, I even think that you might feel a bit of this energy kind of pushing through in the days before, because sometimes if you're sensitive to that, you can really feel it. And you can definitely feel the effects of a Mars Uranus several days after, okay? Whatever it is, it can bring an explosion. And when we're talking about this in a global sense, I never love to hear that, because we may hear news about these explosions happening in different places around the world, but I try and bring it back into our homes, right? Massive conflict could be here. Maybe your behavior or the behavior of someone in your life, it's like pretty erratic. It's like, what is going on? What is happening here? Because this is not in my comfort zone. Okay, it's really what that is. Now, I think that there's a little bit of a savior to this energy to help release a bit of that tension, because the sun is going to be in a sextile to Uranus. So the sun bringing light, heat, life, vitality. Okay, it's shining pretty big and bringing not only the pocket of opportunity, but you're intelligently taking action on it. So here the sun is like, okay, listen, sometimes we have to have a breakdown before we have a breakthrough. Okay, and I can tell you what this has absolutely looked like in my life is that I'm overwhelmed with something and I step into the bathroom and I'm having a little cry. No, that's a lie, you guys. What happens is I step into the bathroom and I call my mom and I'm like, it's terrible and we're all gonna die. And she's like, okay, what's going on? Right. And I have to have this like Mars Uranus, like we're all gonna die, it's all the end breakdown. And then she's like, so you just haven't eaten well, or you need to ask for some help, or you really didn't get enough sleep. And then I have this breakthrough of what I need to do. Sun sextile Uranus, I need to innovate to create space. I've got to take on something new, but sometimes the breakdown is what gets us in enough position to do it. And then I'm always surprised. We can be surprised at how a new attitude and a new willingness to take something on, comes to consciousness. So don't be, I would love for you to have a nice, subtle, because I feel like that's a very low rent breakdown breakthrough that has recently happened for me. But don't be afraid to have honest conversations. Don't be afraid to ask honestly for advice and say, I've got this going on. Let the breakdown happen. Don't put yourself in positions to the best of your ability that are danger, that just bring danger into your life. But if you can have your breakdown, the breakthrough on the other side with this sun Uranus is going to be, one of your greatest gifts. Okay, now later in the day, and see, you've had your breakdown, now you're having your breakthrough, and then we see Mercury herald that flag, bring new energy, new thinking into Aries. And first of all, I really do think that Mercury, because it wants to move so fast and gather and give directions, right? I think it's a little bit excited to take off of its swimsuit and come out of Pisces and be like, oh my God, I can ask 10,000 questions and just get answers right now. So you may also be feeling that as this energy comes in. You're like, yes, I can ask questions. I feel like I have got a little bit, like feel like a little bit of a natural high, right? Or a natural lift. Something has been ignited for us with this energy. And for each of us, I think it is an opportunity to not feel so lost, to feel so uncertain, to feel so drained and pressed upon, with this particular energy. So as Mercury moves into Aries, which it's going to be here for an extended stay, because Mercury is going to go retrograde in Aries as well. We'll actually enter into pre-retrograde shadow time March 18th. So mark your calendars, okay? But we're here, we're energized, we're assertive, we're direct, we're making some decisions at this time where it's like, I am ready to go. I am sure of what I am. I might not be sure of what I'm doing, but I am willing to make this decision. And it activates this sense of leadership, I think, within each of us. And it's kind of selfish thinking. It is more, I don't want to use the word selfish because this has a negative connotation, but it is like, no, this is what I need to do, right? It can be selfish. It can. For some people, it's just going to come out selfish. And you'll know because the people around you will be like, you're being selfish, right? But if somebody's telling you you're being selfish, and you are, as opposed to when you're like, no, I'm just telling you that I am willing to do this. This is what I'm doing. I'm not telling you what you have to do. I'm telling you what I am or I am not going to do. I am telling you that I am taking this class on finance because I am tired of going to bed worrying about my money. I am telling you I'm joining this aerobics class because I hate going to the gym. I'd rather do group fitness. Like you're stepping into that power and that assertion. And I think it's everything that is beautiful for you. So stand up, be counted, hold your own energy there. Okay, now we lead into Sunday the 10th. Now, first of all, depending on where you're at in the world, be mindful of the observation of daylight savings time, so make a little bit of space as well, because Mercury in Aries, and it's just coming out of Pisces energy, daylight savings time screws people up all over the world all of the time. And you're late for an appointment, or somebody is late meeting you for an appointment or something, and you want to fire off something sarcastic and spicy at them and start a fight. Aries, Mars, as opposed to, oh my God, me too, it got me too, where you're assertively making that joke. Just be mindful, grant a little grace if you can around this daylight savings time business. But then we're going to have the new moon happening at 20 degrees of Pisces. So make sure you grab your chart and you're looking at that 20 degrees of Pisces. Okay, the new moon. We're planting our seeds of intention because the sun and the moon are traveling together. And when the luminaries travel together, absolutely anything is possible. We can create absolutely anything. The moon is really, really potent. We're going to work with this energy, for about the next 4 weeks, but also this energy falls into a larger lunar family. So first of all, this is the beginning of this particular lunar family. So make note of this one. I always am walking you guys back through the lunar families, but we're at the beginning of one now. So note this, at 20 degrees of Pisces in your chart on this day, what's happening? What are you igniting? What are you setting your attentions to bring in? Because over the next 2.5 years, as this unfolds and you develop it and you play it out, we can watch this one in living color. And I'm so excited about that at this particular moon. Okay. So, first of all, things to consider is that in the short term, yes, some of the things that you take at this time, by the time we get to the lunar eclipse, that we're going to actually see at 25 degrees of Pisces when we get into September, you can start to see, some of those things coming to culmination. So that's the short term. But looking at this particular lunation, what we get is the sun and the moon, first of all, in separating conjunction from Saturn. So what this cues me to is that these things, these ideals, this level of faith, this understanding, this willingness to forgive, to culminate things, Saturn has said you have to be about it. You have to stop talking about it. You have to be about it. You have to have enough faith in yourself. You have to forgive yourself. We've got to be about whatever your Saturnian lessons are, right? And really, one of the biggest lessons I think many of us are learning, and let me know if this is you in the comment section, is that what we're doing has to be about creating boundaries, but it also has to be about being of service to others, right? There has to be this element of service. So, if you feel like all your business money dried up, go back to the drawing board. Is your product of service? And what are your boundaries? If you've been in business, I'm just using business because it's an easy example, but if you've been in business and you're like, I'm for everybody, Saturn in Pisces is going to be like, you are absolutely not. Who do you serve? Or you're going to be exhausted, right? Even in your marriage, in your family unit, if you've been about everybody, Saturn in Pisces is like, you are absolutely not. Like, forgive yourself for all of that crazy thinking, but now we have to step up a different level of boundaries and faith. Okay. So at this particular new moon, though, as this new moon is separating from Saturn and Pisces, it's this sense of I do and I have seen and I have firmed up some of my responsibilities, my obligations, my boundaries. I understand them differently. And with the new moon in Pisces, it's like I forgive myself for what wasn't. I create this new ideal of ease, of peace, of creativity, of idealism in my own world, but I'm willing to be responsible for participating fully as I can in the creation of that from the spiritual level, not from my intellectual plane, right? We're not going to think ourselves into new realities at the level of consciousness that we have brought problems into our life that we continue to experience. That's the level of consciousness that we're working with. So we've got to be taught, but I become honest and responsible about participating even at a spiritual and an energetic level to bringing in a new life for myself. And so we see that with this vibration of looking at that separation from Saturn, okay? So separating from that conjunction, though, we see that there is a tighter conjunction with Neptune, who's the ruling planet of this rulership besides Jupiter in the more ancient, the more modern, okay? So first of all, this moon, this new moon conjunction with Neptune is like, I am sensitive to myself. I am sensitive to the service and the needs of other people. I have this space of empathy and understanding about the human experience and what it means to try and travel spiritually in the human experience. And so in an intuitive, empathetic, compassionate way, I'm able to like drink in information. And sometimes the information I'm drinking in and I'm beginning in this new 2.5 year cycle is subconscious, semi-conscious, it's something like that. But there's also a space where I'm not afraid to contemplate. I don't think I need to do. Sometimes I am okay to just sit and to watch and to perceive and to be. And at an emotional level, I'm understanding more fully that I can create from the realm of the spirit, then deliver it. Now, for some people, I will say, depending on where this is happening for you, there's another expression that I do think is very available at this particular moon. And if it comes up and it is challenging, remember to look at this as your pain point, your growth point. Okay. So there is this one, some of you may have more experiences of actually having your intuitive and psychic senses really light up, like your spidey senses come very much to life, and it can be frightening. In Pisces, I'm going to tell you what I learned a long time ago, because besides the skill of astrology, I've been able to see dead people and between the worlds since I was little. That is what it is. But along the way, my teacher, Sonia Choquette, had to teach me and talk to me about setting up guardians, setting up boundaries, that through the realm of the spirit, they are not allowed to interact and engage us any more than a normal person on the street. And I didn't understand that for a long time. I thought that I was at the whim and the will of the world that is between worlds. And I was taught that that is not true. So if this is where your pain point is, or you're having more experiences that are coming up and you're feeling frightened, go to your teachers of the mystic, of the intuition. Don't ignore it. The resistance is what is going to create suffering, right? It's the resistance that will create suffering. If you try and push it down and be like, nope, I didn't catch that little piece of light out of the corner of my eye, the resistance will create suffering. Instead, go listen to someone's video on what were their experiences and then what did they do? How do you set up guardians and gatekeepers, right? Like as soon as I learned that, I have very effective gatekeepers, so people are not just running around over here, because I had people wanting to talk to me at the middle of the night, and I'm a human being. I'm like, no, listen, I have to sleep, Bob. Okay, we have to talk about your other life another time. Right? So if that is something that comes up for you, I just want you to know and to acknowledge the fullness of your being, that if you get frightened, go to your teacher, find a teacher who's been there. The other thing is, this can, for some people, pull you back into the space of an experience you had attempted to or have previously been able to escape from. Okay, so if this is an experience of when you were a child, okay, this is going to bring your attention to it. And some of the experiences are like, yes, what is that creative thing that you wanted to do when you were young and you've just always had it running through your brains? Is it art? Is it music? Bring it up. Are you naturally compassionate? What is this beautiful thing? Is it something cultural and you're pulling it in? Or is it that you became escaped, or you created and escaped around something, and now you have to find a creative way to bring it into reality? And you may need a teacher, but it will need to be shared. It will need to be shared. So if you have that and something's coming up for you, I want you to remember, at the time that this moon is happening, Mercury has moved into Aries. Lean into it as a helper. It's courage. It's courage. It's courage. It's courage to move you towards something more positive, or at least more free. Now, to pull in the freedom aspect of this, we have got this new moon in sextile to Uranus. And at first I was like, yeah, the new moon in sextile to Uranus. And I really wanted to address it as one unit, but I want to address this as two units. First of all, the sun. Okay, the sun, light, heat, life, and vitality up and available to us. This in a sextile to Uranus means I've breathed all of this in. I'm serious and I understand more about changes I have to be about, and I'm willing. I'm willing. I'm a little bit more motivated. I'm like, yeah, let me go on this adventure because I do want to shine. I do want to shine, damn it. I do want to be a part of the team. I do want to have this. I do want to be liberated. So there's that very outward vibration of this. You see, I'm like even getting excited about it, but it's like this outward vibration. And it kind of is a place where, like, I think Uranus in this sextile adds a little color to your personality that maybe wasn't there before. Before maybe you were thinking in black and white, it's this or it's this. And Uranus and the sun in sextile to Uranus is like, well, maybe it's gray. Oh, look, I've got some space for chartreuse. Who knew about that? You know what I mean? So there's this, and it's different. And literally, your logic can get different. Now, at the level of the moon, because we have to move to the internal space of this, I think that this is like, whoa, hold on. That is a really different feeling that I'm having. And I might want to explore that a little bit. Do you know what I think about with the moon in sextile to Uranus is have you guys ever seen them? But there are these like the feeling charts, where it's got all the little faces. Well, I mean, we all have emojis, so it's that, right? But it's like the feeling chart, and people are like, well, how do you feel? And oftentimes in a daily experience, it's like, I'm happy, mad, sad, meh. And it's like, well, hold on, that emoji down there with the hat and the glasses, that's a whole other feeling. So here with the moon in sextile to Uranus, it's like, well, what's that? Let me explore that. Where'd you get that hat? Why do you have a hat? Well, this one's got a little eyeglass. What does that mean for me? So there's this opening to be able to experience it. And from the outward to the inward experience of this at this particular lunation is created this space where I no longer feel like I even want to escape. Instead, I somehow want or am willing to take on the ability or the excitement of expressing and explaining to someone else what I'm experiencing, and then to using it to shape a new reality for myself. Okay, now I was telling you that this lunation is part of a lunar family that we're going to consider. So whatever this comes out to you, please share your experience with me in the comment section down below. And if you haven't watched your monthly video for March, check that out and leave me a comment there. Okay, share with us how you're growing. But we're starting your 2.5-year cycle now. We're going to check in on it at first quarter, December 8th of 2024. And there's going to be more actual action available for you, because we're going to have the first quarter moon at 17 degrees of Pisces. Then we're going to get to September. We've got to go kind of a bit of a ways, but we're going to get to September 7th of 2025, where we're going to have a full moon lunar eclipse happening at 15 degrees of Pisces. Okay, and this is where we're going to really go, okay, it's time for me to pivot. I've taken action on that thing I started back in March of 2024. Now I'm at a pivot, or I'm going to commit to a different direction. And then we're going to wrap up what you start here, June 8th of 2026, where it's going to be time to get your accolades, bring it to a close, turn away from this particular work. So I share that not only so that you can understand lunar family and how it works, but also that you have some time to build and grow and shift into this thing. It doesn't all have to be sorted out by the lunar eclipse in September of this year, right? It doesn't all have to be sorted out by the eclipse coming March 25th. So give some love, give some creativity and some space to yourself to go on this particular journey. Okay, that's all fun, but we're not done. We're not done with Sunday. So we're going to see the moon step into void of course position mid-afternoon. So if the energy slows down, or you can just plan for a slowdown as we get to mid-afternoon on Sunday, let the energy just kind of come down, right? Okay. Now we're also going to see that Mercury during that void of course moon comes into a sextile with Pluto. And I like this because this is the emoji with the eyeglass comes out. It's the detective, right? Or maybe he has a little detective hat, whatever. this comes out, and it's a little bit more about like I'm investigating, I'm taking action, right? Sextile, I'm intelligently taking action on what is being presented to me at this particular time, and I'm willing to dig a little bit more. I'm willing to go deeper into the world of fantasy. I'm willing to go deeper into how did I get this belief from Pluto and Aquarius society? What did my society tell me I was supposed to believe about this, and what do I believe today? What is my perception of this versus, also what are my desires? Now, it can be a little bit rocky because we're dealing with Pluto, but it's in a sextile. So I think you're a little bit more easily able to grab and grasp onto that energy. Okay. Then we're also going to see here on the 9th that we get Jupiter and Saturn have been at this interesting angle with each other for a minute anyways, but I think that they help you sustain long term what it is that you're learning at this particular time. Okay, so let that sextile help you have precision and have power with what you're learning about yourself. And as we close out Sunday, we're going to see the moon now get into the vibration of Aries. So Sunday, and you'll know rolling into next Monday, we're coming in with a little something in the tank. Okay, but this is a great energy Sunday night. If you need to take new actions, you want to start a project, you need to hydrate all your plants, like whatever it is, there's a little bit more chutzpah that becomes available. But one of the things, and Tiffany recommends this, and I think that it's really great, is that as you're doing this moon in Aries and you're getting ready for Monday, look at what you need to do to wisely use your energy. Where can you direct your emotional energy at one thing? It's not 100 things needing your attention that are actually zapping your energy and burning you out. So these are going to be some good things that you can absolutely consider as you're traveling through the rest of Sunday and of course into that early Monday vibration. It's going to be a week. It's going to be a week, but also I'm looking forward to seeing how some of this new energy that I think comes up and is available for all of us to access, how it manifests for you. So please share with me in the comment section down below. And if you didn't hear what I said in the beginning of the video, you're joining us just now, check out where you are at in your natal lunar phase and where you're at in your progressed lunar phase, because that's going to give you a lot of information on, first of all, how you are naturally handling your temperament is to handle these transits in the first place. And also, depending on which season of life you're in with that progressed lunar phase, it will tell you how and the speed and energy you have to navigate these transits, right? It's like the lunar phase is here because it tells you what season it's in, and then the transits are here. So it's the difference between experiencing, Mercury and Aries in the winter, as opposed to Mercury in Aries in the summer, right? You can be trying to do Mercury in Aries in your bikini in the winter with no boots on if you want, the snow, like I think Colorado winter, right? Or you could be trying to do Mercury and Aries like in your snow boots in the heat of Spain. Okay, no, we want to work smarter, not harder. So make sure you check that out. And of course, I've got the free astrology encyclopedia over on my website at stormiegrace.com. It should be available for you right now as the video is going. But then you can also take my natal and progressed lunar phase digital class where I lay it out. I lay it out for you and help you bring the astrology a lot more into your reality. All right, my absolutely beautiful friends, I love you a ton. If you have not checked out my video on astrology of perimenopause, the midlife transits, I think you should definitely check it out. And it is not just for women, it is for families. And it also just gives some insight into these midlife transits. And of course, if you have not watched your monthly astrological horoscope, check it out in the March playlist, okay? All right, beautiful friends, I love you a ton, and I look forward to seeing you in more content that is absolutely coming this week. And I'll see you. I'll see you next week for sure. Bye, everybody.